The sinew is that, unlike thread, like I said, when you wet it and you sew something, after a little bit of time, that day it will dry. And so when that thread is broken later on down the road, that thread basically will stay just where it's at. If you had beads on it, you might lose 4 or 5 beads, but it won't unravel. And this is one of the main reasons why there are so many pieces in good condition in museums right now. They could go all the way back to the very beginning, and that's usually when the best work is usually done, was when they use the sinew and the brain tan, because there's no chemicals involved in the brain tan process, and the sinew is one of the best sewing threads that ever was, and we're trying to encourage more and more artists to get back into that. It's just that it is a lot of work, you know. It's so much easier when you have a thread that's very long and you have this needle and you just zip right along with it. Here you have to stop. You could probably only use half of that. Then it's too short. You got to tie it off and start all over again. But anyhow, this bag right here, it's sold, but the person who bought it recognized that this piece is something that would be in a museum, or you would find in some of these books that reflect on some real nice pieces. Yes?
Is there any way you can tell if it's sinew sewn or whether it's...
Yeah, I guess I could pass this around, but in the front you can look very closely, and threads will stand out on it. And also the beadwork is much harder on there. It will stay on there. Like the threads you can push your finger across the threaded beadwork and you can move the beads. And here you can move it a little bit, but it's a lot tougher. And as a collector, let's say, you have to really look for that. And some of them just really put it underneath the glass and really make sure that what that person is telling them is true. I have run across, a person was telling me that somebody so many years ago used to do the sinew sewn work, but in the middle of their pieces they used to use fake sinew, and just to kind of get by with that. And here they ended up, somebody that was very knowledgeable in their work ended up picking that out. And so that person kind of lost a lot of credibility, and that person had to go back and replace those pieces, where they try to cheat on, I guess. And so it does happen with anything, in the art market or with the beadwork market or jewelry. I'm really scared of jewelry because I don't know nothing about it, and when it comes to all these stones, I just right away say, oh, I have to find somebody who I can trust to sell me a piece, to explain it, because I'll be taking on it. And I know that's a whole nother field. And Jan and Steve, they've been in it for a long time, and if I did buy some, I'd work through them on it, because it's just so scary out there. And that's why I want to explain some of the finer points to look for. And we have work that I consider, like that piece. We had a bowl here that was a sinew back bowl. Oh, it's over here. We can just pass that around. But that also has you make a normal bowl, and I think this is out of elm, and ash and elm are kind of the favorite wood around our area. And there's some earth paints on there. But what you do to make that bowl stronger is you put the sinew on there, and the same sinew that we have passed around, and it puts more pounds per pressure on the arrow, without making the bowl real thick. And the best bowl, the wood, is the Osage orange, and a lot of times we can't find that in South Dakota. Well, basically you can't find it at all. So anyhow, the sinew not only used for sewing, but you can use it for this method. You can use it for wrapping, arrows, or all kinds of things. But this bow right here I consider a collector's item because there isn't very many people who make sinew back bows no more. It just seems like people like to take something so far and then they're satisfied. They have to condition themselves to take the extra 2 steps and go through that, and it'll pay off somewhere down the road. But you as consumers also must kind of demand that type of level, quality or level. But if you start demanding that, then it puts pressure on shop owners, puts pressure on the artists to do things right, actually. And believe me, if they experience it, doing something good the first time, they'll continue to do it. They'll respect the whole, kind of the whole history of that item. And most people just, I've never tried it. I just never thought of it, or I can't do it. They start to say they can't right away. But once they have, like this individual took it a step further, he said, I'm the only one in South Dakota doing this now, and I'm really proud of that. And he says, it has become easier and easier. And I always try to ask him, how easy? I'm trying to get the price down on it. He said, no, it's still hard. He said, it's really hard. He said, but but it does become easier. I know that as an artist too. But to me, that I had several of those bows, like 4 or 5. It's been museum people, curators or buyers for museum, who have just came to everywhere I was, and as soon as they seen it, they said, that's it, I want that. I've been looking for that. And so some pieces I've sell very well, and then other times I have to sit on it for a long time. But if I know they're good quality, I don't worry about it. They can sit as long as they want it. We're just looking for the right home for it, somebody to respect those individual pieces. I think I might, am I over the hour, or?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just want to explain a few things, and not everybody knows about art. I don't want to take anything for granted there, but these are porcupine quills that were the first decorations of the Lakota people, really our first art form before the beadwork came. But a lot of people, I've been to Portland and Houston, they look at that and they said, well, why do you use plastic to put on this leather? And no, it's not plastic, it's porcupine quills. And then somebody will say, why are you painting this? Or how did you get it so shiny, or whatever? So I have to go through the process of educating a lot of people. But the porcupine is also in the same area as the buffalo. And they have maps that indicate the population and where porcupines live. And it's basically in the same area. And basically what happens, if you find one dead, you pluck the quills, or you can boil this porcupine. These quills will come up to the top. And then what you can do is you can clip one side of it just to open up the quill itself to boil out more. And then it's a natural white with the black tip. But what you can do is there's earth dyes out there, or herbal dyes from plants, roots, and some are crushed stones, whatever, to come up with the different colors to dye them. So then you would boil it, dye these quills. Once you got them all dyed and they dried out, what I always call it, the woman, a long time ago used to do this work, is take the quill and then go through their teeth to flatten it. And then they have a wrapping technique. Then they would put some designs in this technique. So here's a good example, a turtle that they've put the 4 sacred colors, the black, red, yellow, and white. Those are the sacred colors for the Lakota people. They put this on a turtle, but they came up with the designs. Now, quill work can be put on leather, or it can be wrapped around rawhide, or it can be wrapped around sinew. And there's a example. That string right there is, I don't think it's sinew, but what it is thread. But in the old days, what they would do is they would have the sinew you wrapped around this quill work. It's very tedious work, and you would come up with this style. So there's probably about 4 styles of quill work, and you never know, somebody might invent another style, but those are the traditional styles. Porcupine quill work was almost a dying art, and it came back. And so we're really happy that a lot of those elderly were telling the young people, you better get it down, because if not, you're going to lose it, just like you've been losing the language and some of the other customs. So there have been some young people in the Rosebud and Pine Ridge especially who have really picked it up and now are making somewhat of a living from it. Yeah. And then we have moccasins here, and if you can imagine, before the beadwork, they were either quilled or either no decoration at all. And so the beadwork has just added so much to the Lakota art world that it's really unbelievable when you consider that beads came from Europe. So the Indian people, you know, when they first seen it and they started experimenting with it, I'm sure that it took a while to accept it, but it didn't take that long, because the long winter months up there, the Indian women basically who did it in the beginning just really enjoyed it and took it as a challenge, and it really added to their creativity. And the men really benefited from a lot of this, because they decorated and gave gifts mainly to the men. And I was explaining that yesterday, that in our culture, it's kind of turned around. The women realizing that their husband or even brother or father, anytime that he leaves that camp, he might not return. So a lot of times before somebody's leaving, they'll say, you know, brother, come here, and they hug him and say, I want to give you something. And basically they want to make sure that they give him a gift before they leave. And the man realizes that I know why, because I might not see her again, because I have to go out and do my job. And for some reason, if I don't come back, then at least the woman will say I gave him a gift before he went. And so, very dangerous job, but the men, I'm not saying the men didn't give the women anything there, but basically the women knew that it was a very dangerous situation. Even if they were hunting, there's hunting accidents, or just going out, getting horses or whatever, anything could happen out there. The other area I would like to talk about is that this is the yoke of a beaded dress for a woman. The other 2 pieces of leather they depend on your size anyhow, would be tailored and be coming down this way with fringes on the bottom. There might be a little bit of fringes somewhere, but there's usually a belt that goes around the waist that could be beaded or that could be metal. And then there's fringes on the arms. If anybody's interested in a beaded dress, they are very expensive, but if you are, it can be tailored for your size. And the leather is elk. Elk skin is usually the preferred leather. Deer is a little bit too thin. Buffalo or even cowhide is a little bit too thick. The elk will let you breathe somewhat. Underneath the arms, it's usually open to let some circulation in the dress. These dresses were very heavy, and they didn't use the fully beaded ones for everyday activity. And if you really think about it, the women were very strong back in those days. And I guess I'm talking about Indian and non-Indian women. You know, a lot of physical work going on daily throughout the world. But that cradle board over there, this one, and we have another one over there. Once you carry your child for 9 months and give birth, and then you got to carry it again for 9 months, it's a lot of pressure on somebody. And you have a leather, just like wearing a leather jacket, but you're wearing a leather dress, plus you're doing work. And we always get the women back home when they get mad at the guys, and we're the backbone of this nation, and we carry the children, and we're all sitting there, yeah, they do, really. And I'm not going to argue with that, and okay, you can go to bingo or whatever. But it was really rough if you had twins. That's where you really get into trouble. But basically, if you did, you would give, or when your relatives would accept the responsibility of taking care, and that was usually an honor in a sense. And you take the chance of, you could lose that child to that sister of yours, or cousin, or in-laws, whatever, but it was hard to take care of two children, to watch them. They might be in the next teepee right next door, but you know the influence of that family or that environment is going to have on that child. But it's pretty much accepted, and even to this day, children are given to relatives because they say, well, I'm having a hard time with Joe, and take him and give him back sometime, but take him and try to teach him or whatever. And and then also the parenthood of raising children. They actually try to stretch them out at least 3 years apart, long time ago. And now it's just because when you're in that constant danger of that situation, if you have to deal with too many kids, you're going to be in trouble. You're putting their lives in danger. But the good part about it is that the kids learn arts and crafts at a very young age, just like the Cub Scouts do, Boy Scouts. You start to teach them real young. They start to appreciate it. They ever get lost in the woods, they know how to survive. They know how to trap little rabbits. They make little bows, little arrows, little war clubs. They have little war games. Even today on the reservations, there's a lot of Shetland ponies. They buy them for the younger kids so they hopefully wouldn't get hurt. And they still try to teach them how to do horseback riding, and look for turnips that are on the ground, berries. They try to make them, not make them, but give them the opportunity of experiencing some of those things before they get too old and they'll have an interest in it. But I had what's that? We have here's a real modern piece here I want to show you. And that's kind of in honor of the women, is that if a woman stands out, just like any other pageant, you give them a crown. And a lot of our powwows, they honor the queen of that powwow or the queen of that town. The Oklahoma tribes really like the crowns. They kind of actually, I think, invented that for Indian people. These people would come out with the rodeos or the fairs a long time ago, and then pretty soon they wanted to distinguish the women who held certain values up pretty high, and the people looked and respected them, so they would give them a crown. The powwows, if you go there, you'll learn a lot. A lot of people, like myself, will talk and talk and talk, and you probably have to, walk away from us after a while. But everybody's willing to share some of that experience. And I basically cannot do justice to the arts today for 1 hour or even 2 hours. It's just an ongoing process. And I do have to add a little bit of the spirituality, the history, and the colors. Some of these designs on here do mean things that are very important, either in the spiritual or in a personal value. There is messages up here that are the belief system. The most famous design that we have is what we call the 4-direction design. You'll find it on drums. Basically, it's the example I'm going to give is like me. When I speak, I'm sending the voice hopefully to the 4 directions. Or if I'm talking spirituality, I'm sending it to the Great Spirit, which is above, and then we've got Mother Earth, and then you're in the center. So the 7 directions actually coming from you. And we realized a long time ago that when you're in a small family group, such as the Teoshpais that we used to have, or the clans, if you say something wrong or you offend somebody, everybody, it affects everybody. Like in here, there might be 10 or 20 members. So it really was a bad thing to gossip or to say something bad. And a lot of the people just prefer, they would say, if you can learn not to speak that much, not unless you're asked for your opinion, then you'll be more respected because you're going to hurt somebody's feelings somewhere. And these days it's really hard because I'll say something wrong back in my community to somebody, and somebody will interpret it wrong, or maybe that's my intentions, and it really affects the whole family and your environment around. And so they just say, well, when we spoke a long time ago, we spoke for a reason. It seems like more people are just speaking to be speaking, and it causes a lot of problems. And one of the problems that we have on reservations is people's feelings have been hurt, or they're so sensitive to comments that it causes some real hard feelings. And so we've always trying to bring back a concept of don't say something that's going to hurt somebody's feelings. We found out that that's destroying us more than anything. Some of the problems we have on the reservation is alcohol, which is a whole nother subject, but that hurts the arts field when our people are not sober. No jobs. It hurts the art field as far as you can't buy good materials. It does give an opportunity for you to get into the arts because you're not working out there. And sometimes the communications or the method of communicating, trying to find a market, the reservations does not allow that. Sometimes they don't even have the transportation to get off, or either potential buyers don't want to go on to, say the Pine Ridge Reservation. The roads are so bad that you're going to damage your vehicle. There's no hotels, motels on some of these reservations. You have to plan a trip where you can go there and come back that same day and hope your car doesn't break down because there's no mechanic as far as at a garage or some type of shop. So the reservations, even though they have the human resource, the other part to the ball game of arts and crafts they don't have. It's getting better, like I said, at these casino places. As soon as these casinos are brought in, they are bringing in all these other factors. But some states don't allow gambling. Even South Dakota, we only have a $5 limit. And other places like Minnesota, it's $1,000. Those tribes are going to make more money. South Dakota, still the tribes are going to take a long time to show a profit. And so that effect on the arts is not going to happen for a while. I would like to just ask if you have any more questions. I can answer them right now or after the talk, whatever. But did you have one? Sure.
Yes. Can you tell me what sweetgrass is?
What sweetgrass is? I could basically tell you that for the Lakota people now we use sweetgrass, sage, and cedar mainly in our ceremonies. The sweetgrass has a sweet smell to it. What it does is, for us, we believe that it attracts good spirits. The sage, when we burn it, we believe that the bad spirits out there do not like the smell. They stay away from that ceremony or that sacred place. And then cedar is, we believe that when the sacred pipe was brought down, that the thunder beings from the west that bring the rain and hail and thunder and all that, that this animal lives in a cedar tree. And so we show respect for that sacred pipe by burning the cedar. And I was telling yesterday that when this maiden came down, she had her hair braided. And it was the first time that our Indian people seen it braided that way. And it was braided, 3 strands on each. And she said, this is the way that I would like to have you decorate your hair or take care of it. And she said, these are the 6 powers, the 4 directions plus 1 up and above and down, and then you yourself are the seventh one. And when you go into sweat lodges, then this is the way that you should do it. And then for a man, if you go into war, we want it taken down. That you go in there free, and that you go in there. She mentioned several things. She talked about the sweetgrass and the sage, and so they started to. Most of the sweetgrass is up in Canada. That's where I get all mine anyhow from, is Canada up there, and I think Jan just got some the other day here, so she has some down here also. You do have to wait for it to dry out a little bit to keep it burning. Sometimes if it's too green, you can't get it to light right away. So if you experience that, it's like an incense to a lot of people is you're going to try it at first and you say, oh, this don't even work, you know, or something. But you have to let it dry a little bit. Sometimes I put mine in the dash of my window or something to let it dry out, and it starts in.
Before you harvest it, is this what was known as the tall grass of the plains? How tall is it? That was really my question.
I don't think it is, because we really don't have it except for on the really tip of the northern plains, meaning Canada, basically. In South Dakota or North Dakota, that borders the border there, they don't have it at all grown up there. So it really is a Canadian, or maybe towards Washington or Oregon, they might have it that way. And maybe even up towards Minnesota. It amazed me what they have up there for plant life and things. I just haven't experienced that much from that area. But I know in the Dakotas anyhow, in Montana and Wyoming, we don't have it there.
The pipe bag, now does the whole pipe go in that bag, or does that have tobacco in the pipe bag?
Yeah.
Pipe,
Well, like the bag ends right there, basically. This flap, quilt flap is added to it. But the tobacco, long time ago, if they didn't have a tobacco pouch, which we have here, they could just pour the tobacco into the pipe bag, and then lay the pipe on top of the tobacco, and then the stem. Most of the pipes I've seen, people like to have stems. Do we have one down here? Yeah, we do. It's a large one. They like to have their stems sticking out about this far. Not everybody, but that's kind of the style. And then you would carry the bag kind of by the neck. So it's this part is usually not decorated for that reason. But the stems do get very, very large, and there's different sizes of pipe bags too. This is kind of a smaller one here, so we've got different stems for that. And I guess what I'm talking about is probably, I just want to say for the Lakotas anyhow. And most people know us as the Sioux people. We prefer to call ourselves Lakota or Dakota or Nakota. And basically it's just three different dialects. And it's just that when you say a word, you might add an L sound to it, or a D, or an end. And that's the only difference. There's really no difference at all. And then also, like, the Nakota might be in the western or the eastern tribe of our people. The D is more located in the northern part, and then the L is for like Pine Ridge, Rosebud people on the reservations. But the Sioux name, different tribes or different people have given us that name, and it's really not a good name. It means like snake, and actually it caught on at the right time.